we got so many wonderful things going on here. All right. The Economist YouGov poll just released their latest numbers on the Congressional generic ballot, and the results are, frankly, a political disaster for Democrats. Now, back in February, YouGov had the Democrats up by 7 points on the generic ballot. Good, but not great. 7's okay. We've seen them up 13, 15 points before. So 7 is okay. By May, that lead had shrunk to 5 points. Now, as of this week, the Democrats are up by only 2. Democrats 46, Republicans 44. That's a 5-point swing toward Republicans in just 4 months. And it's not just the Economist YouGov. It's happening across the board. YouGov, NBC, Marquette, Ipsos. Across the entire polling universe, the trend is identical. The Democrats' lead is collapsing, and it's collapsing fast. We're seeing it particularly among Latinos. According to YouGov, Hispanic voters just weeks ago favored Democrats by 21 points going into the midterms. Now, as of today, that lead has dropped to 4. It's a 17-point shift. And it gets even worse when we look at the RCP polling aggregate. So RCP, Real Clear Politics, aggregates, it averages out all the polling out there, okay? Take the good, the bad, the ugly, averages it all out. And right now, as we speak, the Democrats have just barely a 5-point lead over the Republicans, 4 or 5-point lead. Now, just to put that in context, at this time back in 2018, when they would go on to win 40 seats, they were double that. The lead was double that, 8 to 10 around this time. So a 4 to 5-point lead in the aggregate simply isn't going to do it. And there's a good reason for that. And we talked about this earlier this week, but there's a key historic data point that makes these polls even more devastating than they appear. So historically, Republican polling actually drops during the summer, okay? And Democrats get a polling bump, right? So we talked about the peace bump. Well, there's a summer bump, and it's a summer bump for the Democrats. And that's because bottom line, and pollsters all know this, and the legacy media knows this, even though they never tell their dwindling audience this. Republicans have lives. Bottom line, that's what pollsters have found. Republicans have lives. They have families. They go on vacation. They check out of politics during the summer. Whereas Democrats are counting down the seconds to the next No Kings protest. So, and they don't have any kids. They generally don't have families. Again, I'm not being crass here. We have never seen a time where self-identified liberals have reproduced so little. They have so little. The fertility level among self-professed liberals has crashed today. It's way below the 2.1 replacement level, whereas conservatives are having more kids than ever. So what that means is that the Democrats' numbers are always higher in the summer than they are on election day in November. So if they're only up by 2 or 3 in June, what does that tell you for November? So what's driving this Republican recovery? Well, certainly, at least when we go to the YouGov poll, the Iran deal is a massive part of it. So this YouGov poll was conducted during the very time Trump announced the peace deal late last week that permanently opens up the Strait of Hormuz. And really, in the end, that is the ultimate standard by which voters are going to judge this whole operation, not neocon talking points. I mean, they are literally talking into the wind at this point. For the vast majority of voters, they could care less about this policy or that policy, or whether Trump fulfilled this or he fulfilled that. Bottom line, what they're asking are what? What are the questions that they're asking from all of this? Did this make gas cheaper? Did it make my bottom line better? Right? Are things now more affordable? And the answer coming in from the data is, yeah, we're starting to see it. Yeah, this is pretty cool. I'm glad. And no screed from Ben Shapiro or Mark Levin is going to change that. I'm sorry. I'm not saying it even shouldn't. I could be their biggest fans, but in the end, I just got to be descriptive here rather than prescriptive. Now, when you look at the structural map, the redistricted congressional map, the three major projection models all have Republicans beating the Democrats heading into November. So, crystal ball, Republicans have 213 safer leaning seats. Democrats have 206 with 16 toss-ups. Inside elections, they're the most optimistic. They have actually got Republicans at 217. They're shy of just one seat from the majority. You need 218. Republicans at 217, Democrats 204, 14 toss-ups. And then Cook has Republicans at 212, Democrats 205 with 18 toss-ups. And here's the math the Democrats simply can't escape. In the end, there's a disproportionate dynamic here. They need to gain seats. They're charging uphill. All Republicans have to do is not lose them. That's the position you want to be in. So according to Inside Elections, like I noted, Republicans need just one toss-up seat to retain the majority at 218. Just one. And keep in mind, even in 2018, when the Democrats won 40 seats, they did not rout the toss-ups. They lost plenty of toss-up seats. They've never won unanimously all the toss-ups. But again, it's not just the projection models. There's also the voter registration. And we've been tracking with this for months now. In the 30 states that track party affiliation, Republicans continue to dominate. And they've frankly been dominating now for 6 years. Look at this now. NBC News reported that Republicans have reduced the long-standing Democrat registration advantage by over 1 million voters since the 2024 elections. 1 million since 2024. And the NRCC found that in the 28 most competitive House districts after the 2020 election, Democrats had 733,000 voter registration edge over the Democrats. So almost a million voter edge. Fast forward to today in the 28 most competitive House races, Democrats have lost all 733,000 of those voters. Republicans actually now have a small lead. That's a near 800,000 vote swing in the most competitive districts in America. The very districts Democrats are going to need to win, and all Republicans need to is to basically hold on to. And unlike poll numbers, that swing 5 points this way or 8 points that way in a matter of weeks, voter registration numbers are real human beings who officially declared their allegiance, in this case, to the Republican Party. And so that's one of the most accurate predictive indicators of how they're going to actually vote. And if all of that weren't enough, keeps getting better, Republicans are absolutely awash in cash, all the while the Democrats are wallowing in debt. So the RNC entered this spring with $109 million cash on hand, while the DNC had just $15 million, but with $17 million in outstanding debt. So they were negative $2 million. And then when you add in the full Republican ecosystem, the RNC, the NRCC, the NRSC, the Allied Super PACs, the Congressional Leadership Fund, and Trump's MAGA Inc. Super PAC, Republicans have upwards of $1 billion available to defend seats, expand the map, and go on offense. Democrats are stuck making agonizing choices about which races to fund, which to abandon. That is not the position you want to be in going into the most consequential midterms in a generation. So now let's close with this, because this is perhaps really, I think, the most important point of all. The neocons, as you've surmised, the neocons are furious, right? I mean, again, and remember, keep that in mind. The neocons still dominate at least mainstream conservative media, unfortunately. I mean, they're Their influence isn't very strong, but their voices and their weeping and their gnashing of teeth can be heard far and wide. The neocons wanted regime change. They wanted Trump to finish the job their way. And they're getting op-ed after op-ed after op-ed in all their favorite journals screaming that Trump sold out and that the deal was weak and JD is an enemy to Israel and all this sort of stuff. And you know what MAGA voters are saying as of today? I don't care, Margaret. I don't care. And, to be honest, not in a callous way, but like JD said to Margaret, in a very deeply practical, results-oriented, America first way. That's the defining characteristic of this movement. MAGA voters do not see themselves as surrogates for Israeli foreign policy. They never have, and we never have throughout this entire... Remember, my argument from the very beginning of all of this, from February 28th, my argument is Trump didn't get pulled into Bibi's war. Bibi got pulled into Trump's war. This was ultimately about boxing out China and putting America at the center of the global energy market with the Abraham Accords Middle Eastern architecture, protecting that centrality for the foreseeable future. Those three goals have been at the center of what Trump was doing, and he brought Bibi in to help. This was never the other way around. So MAGA voters, we don't see ourselves as surrogates for Israel. MAGA voters don't see themselves as foot soldiers for neocon ideology. They see themselves as Americans who voted for America first. And America first means my gas prices, my 401k, my kids, my country, and my country at the center of the universe. My country in the most advantageous position imaginable in the geopolitical chessboard, so as to secure the future for my kids, my 401k, and my gas prices. And by every one of those metrics, this peace deal is a massive win. We buried their leaders, their military, their nuclear dust. We did it in 3 months with no ground troops and with less casualties than Biden's Afghanistan withdrawal. Let the neocons scream. The band's back together. The polls are surging. The generic ballot is tightening. And the peace bump has just begun.